Antony, is the opposition jumping the gun here before when the talks begin? And what do you think of Odinga calling for all-inclusive talks in this regard, in the context of what he says, involvement of other parties as well?
I don't actually know where the problem is, because my understanding of a parliamentary process, there would be a component of public participation. That is an avenue civil society and other entities can be able to inject their ideas. So I honestly feel like the best approach must be born out of honesty. And I feel like there is no honesty in terms of this conversation, because, I mean, the demonstrations were supposed to actually get the attention of government to the issues being raised by the opposition. They have yielded, because the president on national TV went and actually acknowledged that there are some legitimate issues raised by the opposition that require a conversation. But he said it's not in his purview to exclusively address those issues. So he threw it to the house of debate, the house of politics, which is parliament. Because again, like I said, Ayub, we must get to a point where we accept to move on from an electioneering cycle, so that we allow ourselves to also give development room. So the only way to balance that is to allow the executive to discharge the mandate given to them by Kenyans, which is execute policies that actually address our problems. Then allow parliament to do what they are good at, which is the house of debate, the house of politics, balancing the political narratives. So I believe strongly that the president's direction was appropriate, because it gave room for politicians to do what they are capable of. So for us to actually achieve objectivity, they should first of all, as a way of showing goodwill, give an opportunity. We have not even seen these two committees created by Azimio and Kenya Kwanza hold their first joint meeting. So that based on that interaction, then now we begin to ask ourselves, who else is missing in this conversation? All right. And how do we accommodate whoever else is missing?
But the challenge is that the public seems to be caught up between the hard surface and the rock because of the grandstanding on both ends of the divide, when you listen to the members and also other members as well of the representatives of both sides of the political divide.
Yeah, but you see,
and the mixed signals that continue to come out of that particular process, which hasn't even kick-started.
So that's when the question that begs is, are they doing it for themselves, or are they doing it for the common good? Because if you're doing it for the common good, you start the process. I think we must not forget the reason as to why this process was initiated. One was to cool down on the hostility between the two factions. And then building on that, now build goodwill in terms of political conversations to allow us to look for common places. It's okay for Kenya Kwanza to actually pronounce itself and say that our bare minimum is this. And it's also okay for Azimio to do the same. But at the end of the day, what we expect is that after the two teams have been created, now let's sit on a round table. Then say, these are your bare minimum, these are our bare minimum. What's the common ground? But you see, if you start shouting even before you get to that table, are we even discussing a table? We no longer have it. So that's why the conversation should now shift from, okay, now we have this team A, we have team B. So let's have a sit down. Then during the sit down, now bring the legitimate issues you are raising via media. And say, for example, from our reflections, I think there's an important missing component, which is the public. How do we accommodate them? A parliamentary process is likely to translate into some kind of legislation. A legislative intervention has to, by constitution, have a component on public participation.
Thank you.